everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're having a great day. Today's topic is Angel Aniniel that directs our focus. And if you're excited like me, please leave a like, subscribe, and share this video with family and friends. Let's get started. Angel Aniniel governs the sign of Scorpio. He directs our focus to what is really important, especially when drama and chaos attempt to distract us. Very Scorpio mind-like. In order for us to use Angel Aniniel's strength, let's understand first what kind of distractions are we talking about and receive practical tools to overcome them. Ever happened to you? It's Friday afternoon, you're exhausted and you think, where did the week go? And you're not that further along with all the things you had planned for the week, you didn't get enough done, you were excited about things that were finally going to manifest. Put energy into only to discover where did your time go exactly? Where did you give it to? And where is that you placed it? Or is it on the things that were important to you? Or was it that you were just called and pulled and distracted in different ways by different people and in different situations? There are so many distractions competing for our time, and unfortunately, we often sacrifice the things that are most important and purposeful to us. So the question we all need to ask ourselves at the start, are the distractions helping you or hindering you? Because not all distractions are bad. How much time do you spend on your phone? What would you say your screen time is? In most days, 11 hours a day, 9 hours a day. For most of us, it's 70 times a day. A great example for a positive distraction, there's a virtual reality game designed by scientists at the University of Washington, Seattle, that demonstrate the extraordinary power of distractions in fighting pain. They took burn patients that are typically given large doses of medications to help them through bearing the pain of cleaning their wounds. And patients who played the game during wound cleaning felt up to 50% less pain. That is remarkable. It was more effective at reducing pain than using medication. Sometimes we need things to distract us, but the danger here is that if it keeps us from living a purposeful life. There is a parable about a king who rewards a member of his kingdom with an hour in the palace's room of treasures. In this hour, he is allowed to take as much as he desires. However, the king had a plan. He knew how much this man was a lover of music. So, as the hour began, the king brought in the very best musicians in all of the land to perform. As the king suspected, the man thought to himself, I have the entire hour to collect treasures. And by the way, we all do that a lot. We plan something to do, we think we have all this time, and then, we're running out of time and it makes us really stressed. And so this is what he thought to himself. He had that thought. He has a whole hour to collect treasures. Surely I can stop for a few moments to listen to such beautiful music. But before long, the hour had passed, and just when the man went to take his first treasure, a hand grabbed his wrist and said, your time is up. We come into this world, ultimately, to fulfill our soul's purpose. But we often veer off our course to pursue life's beautiful distractions or not so beautiful distractions, but we think they are. Also, sometimes we don't believe in ourselves enough, so we allow ourselves to be distracted or procrastinate because we're not sure how the outcome will actually be. It says some people live 70 years as if it was one day, and some people live one day as if it was 70 years. But if we follow the spiritual path, we really have to kind of take control of our time mostly and our thoughts. This is a very important topic that is very important for all of us all the time because, and we all know this intuitively and internally, each one of us has a unique purpose for which we came into this world. And every day that we live has its unique purpose. But the reality is that not just because of technology, but technology plays a large part, but also responsibility. as we create families, create work, all very beautiful and important things, they all tug at our attention. And unfortunately, what often happens is that we live a life that is not focused. And what happens then is that we don't really accomplish. We maybe even sometimes touch upon important things, but don't see them to the end, don't see them completely, which connect to two important things. One of the great Kabbalists says that throughout our lives, we call it the negative side or the other side, jumps in front of us and holds a closed hand, making us believe everything we want is in that closed hand. And we spend life running after that closed hand. And the second before we leave this world, the hand opens up and we realize there was nothing in there. Kind of a scary thought. And that is really the fight between distraction and focus. Or it's not just simply I'm fighting my own internal desire to be distracted, but actually there's a force in this world inside each one of us whose purpose of it is to try to distract us, to try to get us off the task. Be it the current task that I believe my soul needs to do today, or my life's task, a purposeful task. That's number one. And the second part, which is related to this, is a teaching from Kabbalist Rav Ashlag. And he says that if you stand in front of a piece of wood for 1,000 years and you hit it softly, chances are, even after 1,000 years, you're never going to break it. But if you put all of your effort, of course, you can break it in 1 second. And when we understand that our important life's work in all levels, whether it's how we're as a parent, whether it's how we are at work, is meant to be done with that intensity and focus, and that without intensity and focus, we can be dancing around many different important work all the time, all day, but we never actually accomplish it. It's important to differentiate between, number one, is the fact that our lives are so busy with important things, family, children, spouse, relationships, your work, your spiritual work, that's important, your personal wellness, so many important things. And sometimes technology helps and sometimes distracts. So it's easy in this context for most of us who have so much important things going on in our lives to give 10% focus here, 15% focus there, and to live a life that is maybe involved in important things, but never truly focus on any of them. So, for example, there's a very big difference between you can be with your children, but are you really there 100%? Are you there 10%? You can be at your work, and you can be at 10%, and you can be at 100%. So a big part of the understanding is that how do I actually bring myself to be at 100% of all the things that I'm doing? Rather than saying, well, I'm sitting with my family, but I'm worrying about something else that is happening, going on at work. Or I'm at work and I'm worrying about something else that is happening with my family, or I just have guilt that I'm at work instead of being with my family. That's one level, which is how do we become better with that? How can we be better in that? And part of this is the training of the mind. And science tells us that in any given moment, we are receiving, call it distractions, but stimulate. As I'm standing here right now, my mind sees that there is a cabinet there. It sees that there are trees out there. Maybe it hears the buzzing of a fly. It also knows that I'm recording a video. So out of the 1,000 different stimuli, I have to train myself to focus on the most important task at hand. And science also tells us that it's a muscle, the ability to focus, and to what degree we are able to remove all the other stimuli, disassociate from anything around you, even if they're important, but not as important as the task at hand. If you have a surgeon operating on a brain It is so urgent, immediate, fragile, important, and it can't mess up. We do that in terms of things that are immediate, urgent, and you cannot neglect, but that is really the energy that we need to put into all of the things that we actually want to accomplish, whether they are immediate or not. Because if you don't see them that way, year after year, it's going to go on a different to-do list and a different things you might try and do, and maybe you will still want to do it, but you never get to it. Or maybe you get distracted so much so that you don't even think it's important anymore. And this, I think, is even more insidious and more dangerous, is that you're actually going to be doing all of those important things, but you're not really there. You're not 100% present. And therefore, the first takeaway, the important things in our lives, we're mostly doing distracted. Think about that. The important things in life, be there. And you have to practically pursue it. It's like eating healthy. This is not something that will happen because you hear somebody explaining it or you read about it. This has to be an effort, full process to get to a life being present or 100% focused. That's going to take work. That will not happen naturally. Being present and removing all the external stimuli. You might have a fight with your spouse, and whenever you get home, it's important to fix that, to talk through that. But if you're having now dinner with your kids right now, instead of worry about it, and as a result not having a connection with another person that is very important to you, your child, then you're also going to feel badly about that later. That, that important thought, science tells us it's a muscle. And of course, there are people who have a stronger ability to focus and people who have less of an ability, but we all need to have the awakening to increase our ability to focus. But more than that, that it's the ability not to allow challenging situations to steal the now from you. You can go through life like that forever, and then you're not going to make anything of any moment. We can sit in that dinner table, feeling distracted, listening to 75% of what your kid was saying. The kid couldn't tell the difference, but you robbed yourself of the opportunity to have an unbelievable dinner. King Solomon, one of the wise men, said that the spirit of the person who does not accomplish is almost. And it's such an important understanding, because if a person came home from that dinner and he or she distracted and felt really bad about it, there's more chance they'll change. But if it was an okay dinner, I was there 75%, 80%. The problem is, first of all, you have not grabbed the opportunity to grow your focus muscle. But also, you rob yourself of the opportunity to receive so much more from that dinner. There's a story in the Bible where Jacob, it says, is wrestling with an angel. And he says to the angel, "Tell me your name." And according to the Zohar, the Kabbalistic text, this story represents the constant battle that each one of us has with the negative forces within us. And he says, "Tell me your name." And the angel says, "Why do you ask my name?" And that's the end of the story, which seems kind of a very uneventful story. And Jacob, it says, doesn't ask for his name again. He just says, the angel tells him, "Why do you ask my name?" And the Kabbalists say something really beautiful and profound, which is that he was actually telling him his name. It was giving him the understanding of that force that distracts us. He was saying, "Why do you ask?" Meaning, why are you trying to pay attention and understand? Why do you ask my name? Because we go through life not delving deeply into moments, thoughts, emotions, and that focus or that lack of focus is what keeps us distracted and what keeps us not living our potential. There's a study that was done with college level athletes, And they found that athletes that were distracted by either any types of fears or anxieties while they were training, they could correlate those who were better athletes during season were the ones that were less distracted in the preseason or in the training. The point is that distraction leads to a better ability to be our best. If you want to learn about it more, actually, a person named Daniel Goldman has a book called Focus, which delves more deeply into the scientific view on this. But it really all connects to spiritual views. Unless we are actively becoming more focused in all the areas of our lives, from the most important to the least important, we're not going to be able to become better and extract all the great experiences that we're meant to have, all the growth that we're meant to have, and all the manifestation of our own potential that we're meant to have. I had a conversation the other day with somebody who is going through certain challenges at work. He's building a business, and there are all kind of issues, and he was sharing about how difficult it was for him because he's worried about it all the time, 24 hours a day, working 18 hours a day. And what he said, and I strongly believe it really is true, because based on the Kabbalists, is that the reason he was so upset is not so much about whether the business is doing well or not doing well, that whether he will succeed or won't succeed. It's that he was internally created a correlation between his business success and whether he is successful. So he has married those two. And now he has to define what success means. And probably 5% of his worry is about the business. The other 95% of the stress that he's feeling is because his ego is attached to the success or lack of success. And if he was able to simply focus on the business, and whatever worry or not worry has to be in the business, he would have 95% less stress, because the pain is really coming from his attachment to his ego, and that is really the ultimate distraction. And that's why even things that we should be concerned about, even things that we should be dealing with, how much of our ego is invested in that. And one of the ways to know is how distracting is it for me. Usually that level of distraction caused by even things we have to deal with is because our ego is attached to it. So it's really two different groups. One of them are things that we really shouldn't be distracted with at all. For example, I was at that party and this person really treated me badly. Who cares? Life's too short. I'm a busy person. I have so many important things to be putting my focus on. And the second, even if it's something I need to deal with, and even if it's something I need to care about, but am I dealing with it because I need to deal with it? How much of my own ego is involved in the stress and the upset? The problem with distraction, once you go down that road, for example, you become obsessed with what that person said about you. And how did they say that? And why did they do that? And that was a distraction. You had a really busy day, but now you're so upset about that. And how did that happen earlier? And now you're going to have to talk to this person about it. Then you need to teach them a lesson. And now you're spending the next 3 days on something that really never should have been taking even a minute of your time. And that's the danger of getting distracted. Daniel Goldman uses the example of Larry David. He's the creator of Seinfeld and also Curb Your Enthusiasm. So he tells the story that he went to Yankee Stadium one day, and often when there's a celebrity, they put their picture on the big screen. So they put his picture on, and 40,000 people stood up and cheered for him and were really supportive. On his way out of the stadium, one guy yells at him, "You stink," something negative. And Larry David said, I spent the whole next few hours just thinking about that one guy as if those 40,000 people didn't cheer for him. And that's the point. We have to be training ourselves. There's actually a part of our brain which, not coincidentally, is hidden behind the frontal cortex of, it's going to grow or not based on how you behave, called the insula. It's tucked behind the frontal lobes of the brain. The insula maps our body's insides via circuitry linking to our gut, our heart, liver, lungs, and genitals. Every organ has its specific spot in the insula. This lets the insula act as a control center for organ functions, sending signals to the heart to slow its beat, the lungs to take a deeper breath. Attention turned inward toward any part of the body amps up the insula's sensitivity to the particular area we are checking in on. So how often we feel sometimes in our heart or feel something in our back. When you're having that thought, the insula then awakens more neurons in those areas of your body. So it actually feels it more. Tune into your heartbeat and the insula activates more neurons in that circuitry of that insula that is connected to the heart. So it allows you to feel your heart more than you did before that. So the introspective part of the brain, even as it relates to the body, is the insula. And it says that how well people can sense their heartbeat, in fact, has become a standard way to measure their self-awareness. So there's a real correlation between how strong your insula is and in feeling the physical parts of your body to your ability to be introspective and self-aware. The better people are at this, the bigger their insula. So the insula actually grows or becomes smaller or weaker. The insula attunes us to more than our organs. Our very sense of how we are feeling depends on it. We know that whether I'm happy now or not is not often usually related to what's happening around me. And that is controlled by the insula. People who are oblivious to their own emotions and also tellingly, as we will see, to how other people feel, have sluggish insular activity compared with the high activation found in people highly attuned to their inner emotional life, he explained. All of us need to pay more attention to what's going on inside, but it talks about the extreme. To that extreme, conscious are those with the alexia, I hope I pronounce it well, alexia thymira, who just don't know what they feel. But all of us, to a certain degree, having a feeling, but then you really have to take the time to look inside, where is it really coming from? And there are people who are incapable, can't imagine what someone else might be feeling. It says our gut feelings are messages from the insula and the other circuits that simplify life decisions by guiding our attention towards smarter options. The better we are at reading these messages, the better our intuition. This understanding that the insula, which is both obviously serves a physical function, but it also serves an emotional and a spiritual function. The ability to become more in tune with our internal voice. Every one of us has all the wisdom that we need, the answer to every question that we have inside. But as the famous quote goes, in order to hear, you have to be silent. And one of the greatest damages is that our distracted lives lead to is that we do not pay enough attention to the great wisdom and direction that each one of us has within us. And when you work the muscle of focus, you're also working your ability to hear your inner voice more powerfully, and therefore use the power of angels more practically. Because what happens in life, because we're distracted by good things or bad things, all that noise doesn't allow us to really listen to the internal voice that is coming from our soul, that has all the answers, that knows the right thing to do, that knows where we should focus on. And so if you really don't take the time in life, not just to connect to your soul, but exactly to really be able to tap into such a level where your body is actually telling you things and you're telling your body, and they work in this beautiful harmony, create that circuitry, body, mind, and spirit. And that is really what it means, and that's how it looks like. And when you don't actually live like that, then when you're 70, 80, even 60, everything is really confusing because you have not lived that way for your entire life. And then when things get a little bit more stagnant or scary or stuck, or you're just uncertain later in life, then you're really kind of at a loss. My teacher, Kabbalist Karen, said a beautiful quote of how to connect to your inner light. She said, when it comes to meditation, oftentimes we're asked to close our eyes and seek silence. Isn't it funny that when we want to see more, we close our eyes? Isn't it interesting that when we want to hear more, we need to seek silence? This is because our answers are found within and not without. The universe within is far greater than the universe on the outside. Sometimes all we need to do to find it is to let go of all the distractions. So it's actually so perfect. There are two quotes related to this as well. Anne Trisman says, how we deploy our attention determines what we see. And Star Wars Yoda says, your focus is your reality. And that again leads us back to this understanding, and it starts with this clarity. Every single one of us has all the wisdom that we need. When you start there, when you know that everything is inside, but it takes time and effort. And if you're not working on this every day, really fighting for focus, bring Angel Aniniel for that. Fighting for being present, then all the amazing intuition and wisdom that you have inside will not be heard by you. It's also about managing time and understanding time, because unless you are a timekeeper, meaning really value every second that you have, and you clear what is the bigger picture, what is the biggest focus, what is the number one goal at this moment, for this hour, even if you have to break it down for these 10 minutes, I'm going to be 100% present in this space. It's like driving a car. I'm in the driving seats, anybody can sit next to me, and everything in my life take rotation, but they all get time, energy, and focus. If you have a pie and you designate these are the 3 areas that are most important to me, and then you look at how the percentage is. How much time goes to taking care of yourself? How much is it for career? How much is your family? And you can see how disproportionate it is. There are many things that we can do that can actually get us to be able to practice being focused. Also, ask yourself the question, when was the last time you had time to your own? What does it mean to think about yourself? To think, what is important to me? What is my focus? What is that I believe or I feel I should be doing today, this week, this month, this year? That internal dialogue, whether it's in a meditation or prayer or in nature, but that quiet time with yourself, unless you are consistently having that, you're almost guaranteed to live a distracted life. The first question is, what is really important to me? That question alone is going to make you have a lesser focus, a lazier focus. So you might see that gossiping, you're spending too much time gossiping or checking other people gossiping. Just asking this question makes you stop and look at how you're actually spending your time. And then once you have identified what's important, then the second question is, how much time did I actually put there? And if you ask yourself that at the beginning of every day and the end of every night, that's how you get the muscle. There is this idea that's called non-time. It's where you give yourself some time to actually zone out so you can be creative. This is going to sound counterintuitive to what we've just spoke about, but actually it works quite well. So if I asked you to do something, or basically take 15 minutes, 10 minutes, and think about nothing, could you do that? Literally nothing. Einstein's greatest ideas came to him while bubbling along the water in his 23-foot sailboat on a breezeless afternoon. Steve Jobs, it says, was an exceptional procrastinator, given to daydreaming and seemingly absent noodling on ideas that would revolutionize work and play. They both excelled in the field of ideas incubation, utilizing what researchers have come to call non-time. Non-time can also be hot yoga, dancing, any workout, exposure to nature, also electronic abandonment are very useful non-time. We are better, more creative, and more in tune with the universe and our place in it when we allow ourselves the room to unplug. This idea of just going away from the routine, the day-to-day, all those external things, it's a scientific fact that the brain does a lot of its problem solving while you're driving and your mind is distracted, but it's actually computing and working. Why is it so important to go to nature? The Kabbalists would say it's very important to spend time in nature because we talk about the internal voice that we have, but there is actually, it's called the song of nature. A tree is attached to our reality that is truer than the distractions of what we often go through in our world. It's more connected to the world of truth. That's why when you go to nature, that's why when you disconnect from electronics, you're putting yourself in a place that is more able to be more in tune with truth, more in tune with your own internal truth, and the truth that is actually going on all around you. You can access that much more readily. Unless you're actively fighting for focus, you won't hear your internal voice. You won't hear the external voice of truth going on around you. So please write down to yourself, what is something that you think distracts you most? Is there one thing that continually gets you? And in what new way can you redefine actually your priorities and take an action? Then ask Angel Aniniel for the strength and clarity and certainty in this process. To learn more about your guardian angel, your personal angel's birth chart, which is your whole healing support team, I really recommend for you to take the one-to-one angel coaching with me. Check out the link below. Thank you so much for watching. Please share, like, comment below, and see you in the next video. Have a beautiful month of Scorpio, and I hope you can take advantage of using Angel Aniniel, which of course you can use it all year round. See you in the next video. Bye.